This is the 1962 prototype Mustang 1 car. And the way I like to describe this vehicle is not as the father of the production Mustang, but sort of as the uncle of the production Mustang. It's really the result of a separate project. This was a concept car with no intention of manufacture, and this car came along at a rather fortunate time for Ford. In the mid to late 1950s, the big three auto manufacturers started to get out of sponsored motor racing because they thought it was rather incongruous with the push toward increased safety in consumer automobiles, which I think makes sense. But by the early 1960s, those attitudes were starting to change, so Ford decided they were going to go sort of whole hog into racing and launched what they called their Total Performance program. Now in 1962, they didn't have a racing program yet. You don't build one of those overnight. What they did have was this concept car. So at the Watkins Glen racetrack at the US Grand Prix, they debuted this car that fall with Dan Gurney behind the wheel. And it generated a lot of excitement and interest in Ford's upcoming racing projects. It's interesting to wonder if this car could have gone somewhere if they'd actually put it into production. It certainly has some great style to it. In fact, there are some styling cues that did survive into the actual production Mustang. For example, if you look at the parking lamps where they're situated, the side vents, which are actually functional here, they actually cool the rather unconventional V4 motor back there. Those were adopted for the Mustang. And then, of course, the badge here is very close, not identical, but very close to the actual Mustang badge. However, this car does lack what I would call certain creature comforts. It's just a fiberglass body. There's no interior lining or anything in there. And in fact, even the seat isn't adjustable. The seat is basically a component of the body, so you can't slide it forward and backwards. So to adjust this car, you actually have to slide the pedals forward and backward. A couple of interesting things on the body too as you look closer at it, one of which is that windscreen in there that's very low. It's sort of just low enough to give the driver good vision, but in theory will project most of the wind over his face. I think I've heard from Dan Gurney, who drove the car, that it could have been a little higher. It would have been all right. So I don't think it quite got all the wind out of your face. Also, if you look behind that, you'll see the roll bar is actually integral with the body, so it sits back there right behind the driver and offers some protection. Though with a tall guy like Dan Gurney, it may not have been enough protection again in that case too. This car was really a concept vehicle in the ultimate sense of the word. There was no intention of producing it. There was really no intention of ever racing this car. It was just a way to generate excitement in Ford and to begin to associate Ford with performance and speed on the racetrack as they started to get their racing program back into high gear again.